Thank you, Mr. Chair. No matter what inflection you may give the words, "Thank you, Jesus," or "Thank you, Jesus," those words are what come to my mind in the morning every day when I wake up, because I've been given another day here on earth. And I'm really appreciative for that. And for those that may not share the same religious beliefs that I and others do, maybe just a simple "thank you for allowing me to be here another day" would also work. But I'm thankful that I've had a good night's sleep and been able to rest and ask for the strength to do what's right for that day that's in front of me. And when the daylight finally does recede and most people are preparing for bed, I try to remember those who must work throughout the night. Our hospital workers, EMS, fire, police, nursing homes, military personnel, and so many others. And it's thanks to their good work that we can all rest easily in our own beds every night. So I ask you that you would join with me in praying for the guidance and the protection of our night employees, as well as those who maybe found their particular day burdensome. I also hope that when each of us awake, that we may also say, not ho-hum another day, but "Thank you, Jesus." Have you joined me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Pierce.
Point of personal privilege.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to recognize but she's still honorable to me, Kit Smith, who's here.
Yeah. How you doing?
Spent many years behind this desk trying to teach me the right way to think. Thank you. Glad she's here to visit.
All right. Welcome, Ms. Smith. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pierce. Next, we have the presentation of resolution. The resolution recognizing February as Teen Domestic Violence. Oh, she's not here? Okay, she's still, okay. We'll come back to that item once the individual actually comes to the chambers. We'll skip to the presentations. First, we have the Historic Columbia, Don Mills Campbell, County Council Liaison. Good evening.
I am Dawn Mills Campbell, and I am here this evening as one of two liaisons to the Board of Historic Columbia representing Richland County. I am joined on today by our Executive Director, Robin Waits, also by our Historic Columbia Board President, David Campbell. We're here this evening to thank you for your commitment to the county-owned Woodrow Wilson Family Home, which, since reopening in February 2014 as a museum of reconstruction, has garnered much acclaim. In review, the Woodrow Wilson Family Home Initiative was a multi-year comprehensive rehabilitation and reinterpretation of the 1871 residence that the future 28th President of the United States called home. Key to the preservation of the house in the 1920s is the fact that it is South Carolina's only presidential site. However, Historic Columbia realized that the most significant and relevant story to tell here was that of the time period during which Wilson lived in the house, the height of the Reconstruction era. Turning the property into a 21st century museum investigating the Reconstruction era in Columbia and Richland County has set the site apart, as it is the only museum in the country focused on this pivotal historic era. For its efforts, Historic Columbia has received multiple awards for excellence in historic preservation, interpretation, and programming, including the 2014 Historic Preservation Honor Award, the 2015 Award of Achievement from the South Carolina Federation of Museums, the 2015 Award of Merit from the Confederation of South Carolina Local Historic Societies, the 2015 South Carolina Heritage Tourism Award, and the 2015 Award of Merit from the American Association of State and Local History. In January, Historic Columbia accepted the 2016 Preserving Our Places in History Project Award from the South Carolina African American Heritage Commission. Recognition from the Commission validates the work that Historic Columbia, in partnership with Richland County, has done to highlight African American achievement during the first historic civil rights movement. We thought it only fitting and proper to present this award to you this evening in appreciation for all that you have done to make the Woodrow Wilson Family Home effort such a resounding success. Thank you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. On behalf of council, I just want to thank the Historic Columbia for that award and what you do for the community. All right, next item we have is the Celebrate Freedom Foundation. Mr. Daniel Hennigan, board member.
Thank you, council members, and thank you for allowing us to speak to you this evening. I'd like to introduce one of our board members, Major General Goldsmith. If you could please stand, sir. Thank you. Command Sergeant Major Marty Wells, retired, is our chairperson, and he's going to present tonight. But I wanted to let you know that Command Sergeant Major Marty Wells was the Command Sergeant Major of West Point, and he was also the Command Sergeant Major of the United States Army Recruiting Command. Without further ado, Command Sergeant Major Marty Wells.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate the opportunity to stand before you tonight to share some ideas about the Gateway to the Army Association's intent to bring notice to the 100-year anniversary of Fort Jackson. In May of 1917, the first of over 5 million American men and women came through the gates of then Camp Jackson to be trained as soldiers in the world's greatest army in the days of World War I, and of course have trained in every major conflict up to present day. So we think that is very significant, such as what Ms. Campbell just brought about as far as Historic Columbia. We want to do something very similar for Historic Fort Jackson. And we appreciate the impact and the support that Richland County brings to Fort Jackson by virtue of its families, its businesses, and welcoming some 3,000 to 5,000 visitors that come through the gates of Fort Jackson to see their sons and daughters, their nieces and nephews and grandsons, granddaughters graduate from basic training. So it does make Fort Jackson one of the most highly visited locales in the entire state. And they couldn't really do what they do at Fort Jackson without being situated in a county such as Richland. So we thank you for that. 100 years, that's a long time. And again, as I said, since that time, even though your brief says one plus million, it's actually 5 million plus soldiers that have been trained. And up until present day, Fort Jackson is and still stands as the largest basic training facility in the United States Army, training well over 54% of all soldiers that become soldiers in the United States Army, and well over 60% of all females. But we think that there's much more to bring to your attention. The impact that Fort Jackson brings economically, if you were to look on your brief on page 3, the South Carolina Military Economic Impact, brings quite a few dollars to the region, both to the city, the county, and the surrounding areas, to the tune of well over $2 billion annually. But it's even more important than that. Centennial Park, which will be built at a central location on Fort Jackson, will not only bring honor to the history of Fort Jackson, but it will also have an educational aspect to it as well as a functionality. And as you look through your brief, which I won't go through every slide with you, if we could just keep going the next slide until we get to right there. Centennial Park, again, will be at a central location. It will be really the only place, because there really isn't one right now, for families to congregate each week during the graduation ceremonies, which take place on Thursday mornings. Right now, there's really no central location for families to go and congregate and visit. They visit the Post Museum, and during the summer months, it's one place to get some good AC. But some 3,000 to 5,000 visitors a week visit that museum. This park will be right across the street. As a matter of fact, they will be joined as one into Centennial Park. If you'll look on the next couple of slides, that's a drawing of the park itself. Central to the park will be what we think is the iconic symbol of Fort Jackson, a statue to that. And that statue will be a rendering of 2 drill sergeants standing side by side on a 20-foot high pedestal, all granite. And I don't know if Mr. Ron Clamp is here today. He's our stone carver extraordinaire, and he is going to build Centennial Park along with a team of experts that he has assembled. But the drill sergeant stands as the premier trainer in the world's greatest army. The statue, 1 male, 1 female drill sergeant standing side by side, surrounding by 7 pillars, 1 for each of the Army values. Surrounding the statue will be an amphitheater on which we're going to conduct promotion ceremonies, changes of commands, various other ceremonies that the military deems appropriate, maybe even weddings, who knows. Also in the next slide, we'll show you a rendering, actually one more after that. That's the statue. And the next slide will show you the third component of the Centennial Park, which is the Foreign Theater Plaza. The Foreign Theater Plaza will bring honor and some educational aspects to every armed conflict since World War I. So World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, OIF, and OEF. It's all going to be there. Imagine, if you would, a middle school history class going on a field trip to Fort Jackson. They're visiting Centennial Park. They come up across the Foreign Theater Plaza, and they use their iPhone to click on the QR code, and up pops something on their iPhone telling them about what they're looking at. So there's going to be an educational aspect of it. If we can go to the next couple of slides. This will have various things that are honoring things such as the Purple Heart, what that means, how it's earned, the Medal of Honor, very same, and POW MIAs in general, thousands of which have been trained at Fort Jackson. The next slide will show you a rendering of the family aspect of Centennial Park, and these are 7 pavilions that we will build through in-kind donations and monetary donations throughout the park. And again, these will allow those families to get some shade, enjoy a picnic lunch or whatever they want to do for just a few hours. What we want them to leave here with is just a sterling remembrance of what South Carolina, Richland County, Columbia, and the fort is all about. And we think that Centennial Park will do that. When you think of 100 years and how many people have been impacted by Fort Jackson, either through going through training there or knowing someone that has over generations, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people that are still alive today know someone that's gone through Fort Jackson. Fort Jackson, in many respects, is what Parris Island is to the Marine Corps, and isn't it a nice coincidence that are both located right here in South Carolina? So we want to bring homage in many different ways. It will cost money, obviously, and to do that, we will have to raise about $2.7 million. We've assembled a board of directors, which really is, in many ways, could be considered who's who in the Columbia area. We have different giving levels. We have, if you could go to the next website, which lists our website, which is www.gatewaytothearmy.org. People can go there right now and purchase a granite brick, which is up there. I forgot that.
Okay.
The brick is right there. There's Ron. Can you hold that up?
Okay, sir, if you can just wrap it up, because that was the
absolutely.
5-minute mark.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So the bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, on the last slide, we are asking for Richland County to consider giving a fundraising effort of $500,000 over 2 to 3 years,
All right.
which would significantly help our efforts.
All right, thank you, sir.
Any questions?
Thank you. Okay. Next, we'll have we'll go back to the item presentation of resolution. The resolution recognizing February as Teen Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Richland County.
Good evening, members of council and audience. I would like to invite Ms. Nicole Walker and her students from Ridgeview High School. Yes, I'm gonna put you guys on the spot too. I know you guys have a voice, so I'll wait for that for 5 minutes. Members of council and audience, this is a resolution recognizing National Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month. And it says, whereas teen dating violence is a serious violation that can affect a young person's safety, development, and sense of comfort. Dating violence takes many forms, including physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, and can occur in a person or through electronic communication and social media. And whereas dating violence may include physical force such as kicking, hitting, shoving, emotional abuse, consistent monitoring and isolation, or sexual assault. Dating violence can occur in any relationship regardless of gender, race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and social economic status. And whereas approximately 1 in 10 teenagers report being physically or sexually victimized by a dating partner, and too many other victims do not report it. The cycle of violence can begin with anyone at any time, and as a society, we must acknowledge that we each have a big role to play in teaching our children, our future, the importance of healthy relationship. And now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Councilwoman Julian Dixon of District 9, and the members of Richland County Council do hereby resolve that February is the month that we will designate as National Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month in Richland County. And it's signed by myself and the chair, Mr. Tory Rush, as well as the clerk. Everyone know I'm a big advocate for domestic violence. And when it comes on to our teens taking the initiative of helping to spread the word about healthy relationship, I take my hat off to them, and I do support them 150%. So, Richard?
No, please.
Yeah, So Michaela Hayden is one of my students. These are my juniors. We're with the Scholars Academy program at Ridgeview High School. Each year I ask the kids to pick an advocacy project that they can get passionate about, so that they can sort of learn those soft skills while they give back to our community. This group picked Taint and Dating Violence. It's something that they all feel really passionate about. And Sierra's law is what they've been advocating for, which is a bill that's in our legislature right now. Michaela's just going to speak for 1 minute to kind of inform you about that.
Thanks.
Hi, as Walker said, my name is Michaela Hayden. On behalf of the Scholars Academy Magnet of Business and Law of Ridgeview High School, I would like to speak to you guys a little bit about Sierra's Law, what it can do for us, for my classmates and I, for all teens in the state. Thank you. So recently, in the past couple of years, we've had way too many victims of teen relationship violence. Just a couple. Sierra, she was from Lancaster, South Carolina. She was shot in the head by her ex-boyfriend, Tanner Crawley. In honor of her, her parents created Sierra's Law to protect all teenagers in the state. Also, we recently, Deandra Roach, who was 19 years old, was allegedly shot by her ex-boyfriend after she sought professional help multiple times. Seth Jackson was just 15 years old when he was brutally beaten, shot, and burned by his ex-girlfriend and a few of her friends. Also, Akilah Flood was just 18 years old when she was killed by her ex-boyfriend just days before she would become prom queen of her high school.
Wow.
One of the most shocking statistics that our group has found is that 1 in 3 adolescents will be victims of teen dating violence. We like to tell people at our school, look to your right and your left. One of you will become a victim of teen dating violence. That is shocking to me. So, our mission is to advocate for the legal rights and protection of the teenagers in this state. As of right now, teenagers are not eligible to get order protection against anyone. For someone who is in an abusive relationship, this can be extremely problematic because legally you aren't protected. You don't have any legal protection from that person who's abusing you. So as I said, that is a major problem in our law and our legal system today. Also, according to the Break the Cycle campaign of 2010, South Carolina has received a grade F for the protection of teenagers in the state. This is the worst possible grade that we could get. And teenagers are youth of the state. They're most impressionable at this age, and for our state to receive a grade F for the protection of them is unfathomable to me. So our solution is Sierra's Law, which I said was made in honor of Sierra Landry, who was killed at 18 by her ex-boyfriend. This law will allow teenagers under the age of 18 to obtain an order of protection. Minors who are under the age of 16, their parents will be able to obtain one for them. It will also implement education programs into all public schools in the state, which is very important because, as I said earlier, teenagers at this age are the most impressionable. If they don't learn the signs of an abusive relationship and they don't understand the dangers of it, they face the risk of going into an abusive relationship in their future, which is just furthering the cycle of violence. Also, abusers will be held accountable for their crimes. They won't be eligible for bond, pretrial, or the expungement of their record, and they will also be placed on a separate public registry. So the benefits of Sierra's Law, one is the legal protection. As we've said multiple times, teenagers under the age of 18 will be allowed to obtain orders of protection, which will protect them from their abusers. Also, education. The education programs that would be implemented into the schools with Sierra's Law, it would help teenagers to identify the signs of an unhealthy relationship. It would educate them on how to get out of an unhealthy relationship, which is all very important as they graduate and they enter the world on their own. Also, it will strengthen the community and make a difference. Unfortunately, South Carolina has the highest rate of domestic violence in the country, and Passing Sierra's law would let other states know and other members of the community know we don't tolerate violence in any capacity, in any form, especially in our youth. So the social and economic costs of Sierra's law, the World Health Organization found that violence has a ripple effect through society. Women may suffer from isolation, inability to work, loss of wages, lack of participation in regular activities, and the limited ability to care for their children. This is a very scary and dangerous downward spiral that South Carolina should not be a part of. The National Center for Biotechnology estimated a total annual cost to victims in the United States of $507 billion, or $1,100 per person in the United States, compared to $63.8 billion in England and Wales. So how do we know that all this will work? Well, here's the proof. Florida received a grade B for the legal protection of teenagers according to the Break the Cycle campaign. Those under 18 and younger are eligible to file for an order of protection on their behalf. However, education programs are not implemented. While a B is much better than an F, it's not an A. Sierra's law would allow teenagers to obtain the orders of protection. It would implement education programs. It would place the abusers on a separate and public registry, all in hopes that we could receive a grade A for the protection of our teenagers, and that they can be protected and they can feel safe in their homes, in their schools, in their community, because South Carolina teens deserve protection just like any one of us. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to say, as the father of 3 little girls and seeing those scary statistics, I want to commend you all for the work that you've done on this project. It's well needed, and I appreciate your advocacy on this very important issue. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And also, I'd like to recognize the principal of Ridgeview High School, Dr. Mack. Thank you for being here as well. Thank you, Chair, councils.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Dixon, for your leadership on this issue.
So sweet, I love you.
All right. All right, next we have approval of the minutes. Special call meeting, February 9th, 2016. Got a motion for approval. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have the adoption of the agenda. Do we have Mr. Smith?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add an item with unanimous consent of council, a legal update regarding DOR.
One second, Mr. Manning, before I recognize that motion. Mr. McDonald, did you want to add an item as well?
Mr. Chairman, just one item under my report, personnel matter.
Okay.
Just to give you an update.
For executive, okay.
Yes,
All right.
executive session.
All right, Mr. Manning?
Chairman, I move for unanimous consent to add these 2 items to the agenda.
That's the motion on the table. It's been properly second. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Now we have the adoption of the agenda.
Move to approve adoption of the agenda with those changes. Second.
That's the motion on the table. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have the report of the attorney for executive session items. Mr. Smith.
Chairman and members of council, we have 3 items that qualify for executive session. First is under number 8A, North Main Street widening project. Under my report also is a legal update regarding the Department of Revenue, and under the administrative report, a personnel matter. And Mr. Chairman and members of council, on item 8A, which is the North Main Street widening project, we do have outside counsel on that matter.
Okay. All right. Chair, entertain a motion for executive session.
So moved.
Got a motion. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We're in executive session.